Hello, you are watching ABC Amba TV News. My name is Cynthia Williams, and here are some of the stories we are covering today. The president of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, holds a spirited press conference with the local and international media in Nigeria. The president discussed the security concerns of Nigeria over the growing Ambazonia refugee population in that country and the alleged Ambazonia-Namdi alliance. A 58-year-old woman who was brutally beaten by French Cameroon soldiers in Ndu local government area has died from her injuries. In foreign news, thousands of protesters in Ghana took to the streets in the capital city of Accra on Wednesday demanding that the country should be fixed. In sports, Namibia, Nigeria, and Ghana win medals at the ongoing Tokyo, Japan Olympic Games. These stories and many more in this edition of ABC Amba News. Don't touch that dial. Please stay tuned.
When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems.
National media in Nigeria to discuss their security concerns. Hello again, I'm Cynthia Williams. The president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, on Friday held a spirited press conference with local and international media in Nigeria to discuss their security concerns over the Ambazonian growing refugee population in that country. Also discussed was the alleged Ambazonia-Namdi Kanu alliance. The President and Secretary of Communications, Chris Anu, told the media that no such alliance exists. Tar PK followed up the press conference and now reports.
Yes, Cynthia, the international press outreach, timely organized by the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia earlier today, with what makes mainstream of the Nigerian press comprising AIT, Channels TV, TVC, Arise, NTA, Galaxy, This Day, Punch, Guardian, Vanguard, Nation, Daily Independence, Business Day, Premium Times, This Day, was an interesting rendezvous and a distinguished privilege for ABC Amba News to cover. I would say that the importance of this international press conference that was so beautifully animated by a very large percentage of what makes the media in Africa's mega nation, Nigeria, can never be overemphasized owing to the current happenings and stakes involved. During the press conference today that lasted for over 2 hours, we saw a president that was on top of his game in his very familiar composure, confidence, and wisdom, educating and re-educating the Nigerian press of our history and plight as a people. On strategy and diplomacy, this was a great opportunity for the international press and relevant globalization actors to savour the deep insight of a visionary leadership with the pure intention to serve its own people during such perilous times. Considering the fact that Nigeria remains the most populated nation and economic epicenter of Africa, and also would be potential neighboring partners, expert advice say it is unavoidably necessary for a collaborative move as such to be enhanced by the legitimate leadership of the peoples of the former British Southern Cameroons, in spite of the heartbreaking memories like the Naira 10 saga of January 5, 2018. As per the main objective of this press conference, which was to address security concerns of Nigeria versus its impact on the over 200,000 Southern Cameroonians fleeing from the genocidal onslaught in Ambazonia to seek refuge in neighboring Nigeria by throwing more light on the interim government's stance in the face of unscrupulous activism within the Ambazonian liberation movement. One could boldly say that today was a success story registered in the big files of history. So much was gathered and learned during today's international press conference with the interim government of Ambazonia and the Nigerian mainstream media. Journalist Fonsho Arogun Dade testifies. The ABC Amba News team promises to bring you more of it in our subsequent newscast. This is Star on Prime Reports with ABC Amba News.
A 58-year-old woman was brutally beaten by Cameroon government forces in Ndu local government area and has succumbed to her injuries inflicted by the Cameroonian soldiers. Again, Comfort Confer reports.
Here we have the population here. Population here, they are passing the message of joy and sadness here.
A 58-year-old woman was beaten to death on Tuesday, the 3rd of August 2021 by the forces of La République du Cameroun in Taba village of Ndu local government area because it was alleged that her son was an Ambazonia restoration force. Apparently, the trigger-happy military were tipped off by the vigilante group of that LGA, who are on the payroll of the CPD and members of parliament, that the purported ARF was on a visit at his mother's. The so-called professional military who was supposed to protect the people went to the deceased lady's home to get hold of the young man. But when they did not find him there, they beat and tortured the 58-year-old mother, abandoned her helpless in the pool of her own blood, and left. Some good neighbors and family members hurried to transport her to Bafoussam, the headquarters of the western region of La République du Cameroun, for medical attention. But unfortunately, she died en route to the hospital. The villagers on Taba are still in shock of the heinous act of La République du Cameroun's brutes, who act without reflecting on their impulses. Similarly, in Lu and Garum villages still in Du LGA, it has been continuous tears in the eyes of the locals who have lost men, women, and young adults to the barbarism of the infiltrating and thuggish forces. The reason being that they were either brothers, sisters, or parents of the Ambazonian Liberation Forces. The list of the atrocities dispensed on innocent Ambazonians by the callous and uncontrolled military is inexhaustible. However, one thing remains sure. They may rape, torture, kill, maim, and arbitrarily arrest us. But all we know is that Ambazonia must be free, said one of the villagers to ABC on a phone call. Comfort Confo on Prime Reports with ABC News.
ABC has learned that an alleged security meeting of Cameroon's top security personnel ended with a motion for their troops to pull out of Ambazonia under the guise of poor weather. While we wait to confirm the report, our reporter Nellie Fortune in this report says that Cameroon soldiers continue its intimidation and secret abductions of Ambazonians.
The hidden truth about the manipulations of the people in Donga-Mantun County by the CPDM regime against the interim government and all who believe in the total restoration of the Ambazonian independence has been uncovered. The handpicked mayors, MPs and the colonial administrators of dictator Paul Biya of La République du Cameroon in Ndonga Mountain County have been moving from village to village, sharing money to funds and notables of the county, creating vigilante groups to collude with the military and snatch the lives of any suspected Ambazonian fighters on ground zero and people who are supporting them. Since then, many young boys have been arrested and secretly slaughtered by Cameroon uniformed men as they make the masses to believe that the young boys are abducted and sent to the Kondingi concentration camps in the colonial capital city, Yaoundé. The Biya-Mignon MPs, mayors, and their military are currently making rounds in the villages in Ndonga Mountain County in the guise of peacemaking and continuing to claim the lives of young Ambazonians. The guests are fighting as Ambazonian restoration forces in defense of their territory. Meanwhile, the mayor of Ndu has given the phone numbers of all the council workers to the South African mobile telephone company operating in Cameroon, MTN, to tap into the telephone communications of the councillors. As we speak, the mayor of Ndu has already handed a list of 15 suspected supporters of the Ambazonian liberation struggle, supporters to the colonial divisional officer and the military of Ndu for eventual undesired arrests, thanks to the evasion of their privacy and the betrayal by MTN. The soldiers are now waiting for orders from the mayor to disburse money, which they demanded to forcibly arrest the council workers. All we know is that they are going to be taken away, but only God knows where they will be taken to and what their fate will be. One of the denizens of Ndu local government area told ABC that the silent majority of Ndonga Mountain County have said they are not and cannot be intimidated by threats of the occupiers, as they all stand together with the interim government and His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, the President of the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Nelly Fortu on Prime Reports with ABC TV News.
The Department of Women Affairs here at the interim government has reacted to a recent conference in Yaoundé organized allegedly by Cameroon Women for Peace. Head of the department, Dr. Patience Abiadou, in an interview here at ABC, describes the Yaoundé Women's Conference as another window dressing, a cosmetic solution-seeking and money-making event for the organizers. The women failed to speak truth to power, Dr. Abiadou said. Let's listen to her.
Yes, greetings, fellow listeners, viewers. At the end of last month, July 30th and 31st, the first ever convention on peace was organized in La République du Cameroon. So it's dubbed First National Convention, Women's Convention for Peace in Cameroon. And it was organized by a German foundation called Friedrich Ebert Foundation. And the purpose was to bring together women from the 8 regions of La République du Cameroon, plus the 2 regions of Southern Cameroon together, 10 in total, to talk about the civil problems that they consider civil problems that are happening in both regions of the country, La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroon. This brought about 1,000 women, they claim, and they had 2 days to discuss about what peace is all about, the role that women play in peace building, the role that women play in bringing about an end to war. They had some catchphrases during this 2 days convention, and one of those catchphrases, which they were quoting, one of a famous person was, "If you want peace, don't talk to your friends, talk to your enemies." And the other catchphrase was, "Peace in Cameroon will not only mean the absence of violence, but also the achievement of justice." Now, when you examine those 2 quotations, you come to realize that they were really talking amongst themselves. If they ask that if you want peace, don't talk to your friends, talk to your enemies. But they were talking amongst themselves, just friends. The people that have been affected by this war, Southern Cameroonians, 30,000 people killed, IDPs, refugees, they were not represented. So that in a sense made it that any declarations from that will not be favorable, will not succeed in bringing any changes in those regions.
Thank you, Dr. Patience. We would like to hear from your deputy if she has something to say before we get into the questioning.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Uncle Lady. It is a pleasure for me to be here to add my voice to what just took place in the Republic of Cameroon. A group of women coming from all over Cameroon, supposedly to be talking on peace. My concern here is you realize that the women left the conference at the end of the 3 days or 2 days. One would have expected some purported resolutions. I don't know if it is still their technique to criticize themselves before they get criticized. They spoke of they being the victims. The victims were not consulted. Of course, which they setting out for that conference should have done their research to find out if really people concerned would have been present there. They also talk of the fact that women who have stood for peace in Cameroon should have been recognized at that conference. It seems as if they went there for some kind of self-glorification instead of targeting the subject at hand. So to me, when I look at it, I begin to wonder, the mama that has lost her home, whose sons and daughters have been killed and buried, whose homes have been burned down, if any NGO at such overseeing those mothers were even consulted. Worst of it all, the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung Foundation is in Germany and is supposed to be the oldest political social counseling organization in Germany, for which they are supposed to know whom to consult in such matters before setting out for such a conference. And they know very well that there is the government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. They know their leaders. They know those in Germany. They know the seat is in the USA. They know the president. And women of that department, or women who are standing for the complete restoration of independence of Southern Cameroons, should have been consulted, because we have been working on ground with those women, the victims, the rapee, those that have been raped, those whose homes have been burned, those who have lost their children, those in the refugee camps, the IDPs. At least they should have done their research and contacted people who are already working, interfacing with the victims. So to look at the criticism that are coming at the end of the day, one will be wondering if what they set out to say, talk to your enemies, was even something that they even practiced, or it was just another monologue that they set out there, just like the Grand National Dialogue. You can't be doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Indeed,
it doesn't work.
That was unfortunate. We hope that such situations will be counteracted by the voice of our people, and it is no doubt that could be some form of disrespect. I'd like to go into the questions now. We are grateful. The ABC Amber News team is grateful for the information you've given us. and we're going to investigate to report more on the stories and even what took place in Yaoundé. I'm sure Cynthia would want to ask some questions before I come in with the conclusive questions on what happened or what you've just said.
Well, what I would like to ask, and thank you for the opportunity to speak, I'd like to know if there was any consideration given to the psychological and social impact of what has gone on, because I know that women as caretakers in general, even though we can be professional women, we still tend to be the caretakers and the nurturers in our families, and the devastating images and the devastating losses that women are enduring while still trying to maintain their daily lives, the mental health toll that it's taking on everyone, on the families, and seeing as how it sounds as though the organization didn't take into consideration any of the actual issues and the actual problems that are being experienced by the people in Ambazonia. And they basically just came to give themselves a pat on the back for what they're doing, it sounds like. Is there any plan for the women of Ambazonia to have their own conference and put something together that doesn't involve the group that is actually oppressing in the first place and committing the genocidal acts?
Let me start with that question. On their day 2 of the conference, they did in fact have one issue at stake, and it was titled Conflict-Related Sexual Violence, Psychosocial Support, and Trauma Healing. So they talked about that because most of our young women have been raped, and mainly by the military. And this military is La Republic military. Most of our young families have been brutalized, where they've lost loved ones. They've seen brutality firsthand, where you really witness somebody being killed, something that they never experienced in their lives before. You have people that are at the verge of committing suicide. So they did talk about this, but this is where they fell short. The people that are really affected were not in those meetings. The people that are really affected are currently in bushes. Some of them are refugees in foreign lands. So talking about something amongst those who are not affected is just lip service. It makes no difference. And we intend to have structures in place when we gain our complete freedom, when we have access to a land, where we have professionals, have institutions for these thousands and millions of people that have been affected because of this war, where they will be given the real treatment that they have for both the body and the soul, both mental treatment and physical treatment, so that they can be able to live normal lives again. Rachel? Mm-hmm.
Okay, just to go, I think your deputy could take this question, and I just want to emphasize on this. Is the women's department having any program or any project to showcase the plight or to ensure a more inclusive conference, if I may say?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Since the creation of the Women's Department of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, this was one of the, and that was created during the Berlin conference that was held in April 2019. So
2018.
Yeah, 2018. That aspect of it was like, we thought the next phase was for the women to organize something like this and bring all Ambazonian women in the diaspora, and with possibility of even transporting some of the women from Ground Zero or wherever they were to attend a conference like this with us. Unfortunately, that was the time COVID came in, and you could see that we redirected our efforts towards the book, Echoes of Women's Tears. So that is where we now pushed our energy to be able to tell this story as wide as we could tell it, which is some sort of coded conference. Notwithstanding, we are still thinking, now that things are getting lighter, we are also thinking of having something. The women's department is working towards that. And on our own, we cannot, we can't do it. We will need partners that will be able to be with us and come together to work. And we are working towards that. The department, the Secretary of State is doing a lot of background work there together. We are meeting with other women and organizations to see how the women who are really talking on this independence, intending to project the victimization that has gone to despicable situations that our people are living in and the affected ones. And what do you have to say? So to me, this subject of social justice, psychological consultations on all those things, those are things that when people are ready, they will be able to do them. You cannot go and be doing psychological consultations when the root cause of that psychological situation, the trauma, has not been treated, has not been handled.
You can't do any psychological crusade when the root cause of the problem has not been handled. Yeah, Cynthia, do you want to take the last questions for them before we conclude this interview session?
Well, I wanted to ask Dr. Abiadu, and if there is any academic interest from the universities in the area, have they taken any interest? And I know that I graduated from Prairie View A&M University, which is a historically Black college here in Texas. And I would think that this is something that should be on everybody's lips in every Black college, every university, every major mainstream news. Is there any relationship between academia and what's going on right now in Ambazonia?
That is a fantastic question. As a matter of fact, this book that we just recently published, Echoes of Women's Tears, we are thinking that we will use this book to get into the doors of academia in major universities. Mm-hmm. As you say, why do people not know about our stories? Right. Is it because nothing's happening? No, the reason is because French Cameroon has so much strong lobbies that are strong enough to prevent the world from knowing the truth. So we have to find ways of getting into universities and telling our stories to academia. And the only thing that the academicians are interested in will not be more about humanitarian problems or the humanitarian crisis. They'll be more interested in the history of what became of these two nations when in the early 60s, nations were given permission to get their independence. One was able to get its independence as its own right, French La République du Cameroun, and the other one was told to get independence by joining one country or another country. So I think that is where any university will be more focused on when you go to see their departments of African American studies or history studies. And we are hoping, I have really decided myself to start here at the University of California, Los Angeles, to try to see someone to get this book in the doors. And hopefully with time, other people will do the same to different universities in the United States of America, in Europe, and in Canada, so that our story gets told. And with that, there's bound to be change. there's bound to be change.
Yes, and we believe so strongly that the root cause of the ongoing genocide in Ambazonia is as a result of this whole idea. We really don't know where it came from, independence by joining. And until today, it still baffles research why someone will suggest that a nation that had governed themselves for close to 5 years would have to have their own independence by joining. Marashel, do you want to comment on that before we conclude?
Yeah, thank you very much for this segment. This is a cliche that has really bothered me since as a student when I was doing the Cameroon history, when they said independence was given by joining. Saying, how could you make somebody independent at the same time you are joining the person? This is a kind of, so that time we just wrote just to pass exams and go to school. And now as an adult, we get it clearer. We get to read the United Nations declarations, the Article 1608. We read the Article 5, and we read the other preamble that followed, that people, each nation should be given their independence, irrespective of their population, their economic situation, no matter what their ethnic or so. I believe that was a right foundation whereby people were supposed to learn to nurture themselves and grow up. But I don't know why this thing had to slide out for Southern Cameroon. It's a unique situation which has resulted to a very, very deplorable condition where the nation finds itself and this group of people. And I think it is a call for concern that this, by joining, should be revisited and put things in place, because no one gets independence by joining another. Not only ending there, assimilation comes in and no one seems to look at it. It is very, very deplorable.
And the whole idea was vicious, no doubt, very vicious, because even the process was not completed. And we are made to understand that there is no treaty of union between the former British Southern Cameroons and the French Republic of Cameroon. So whatever took place was a fraud, and that is why we were recolonized as a people. We have been tortured, and there is genocide. Thank you all, ladies, for accepting our invitation for this interview. We hope that you will create time to come again for another interview. You want to say something, Cynthia, before we conclude?
I'm sorry?
Cynthia, you want to say something?
Well, I was going to just say that as far as the women are concerned, I follow a woman by the name of Chimamanda. Have you heard of her?
Yeah, Chimamanda of Nigeria.
And yes, and she's very I just love listening to her, but it brought to my mind the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement that's going on here in the United States, as far as how women are just over it. We're not accepting that backseat position any longer. We're not allowing men to dictate the things that are the concerns of women any longer. And I think that aligning with something like the Me Too movement or the Time's Up movement when it comes to something like that, and maybe getting a big name like Chimamanda who can actually speak to these issues. Maybe we could invite her or reach out to her and see if there would be something that we can do in that regard. There was just so many people that come to mind when I think of the issues concerning women and the trauma that women experience. I could not imagine what you all must be feeling, having had this firsthand experience with this disastrous, awful situation. I just think that the way that it's impacting me, I know that if more people hear about it, more people are going to definitely want to get involved and do something about it. So I'm more than willing on my end to see how I can get my university involved. I came from the sociology department, and I know that there are ways that I can have those conversations with the department chairs at Prairie View in sociology, and that would be something that we can consider, and perhaps we could invite some people, invite you all perhaps to the university and have a forum, because I think the conversation needs to be had. And I think the more people hear about it, the more light we shine on this, the more it's gonna be an issue that is gonna get a lot more attention. And I'm really, really grateful that there are people like you women who are strong and standing up in the face of all of this chaos and genocide and this trauma and this terror. I'm glad that you have that voice and the strength of character to come through and be warriors for your country. And I'm very proud to be a part of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank you, Cynthia. And it's funny enough, Chimamanda was at this conference.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
She was at the conference. Yeah.
I listened to her. She had an interview with a French woman, and she basically talked about how the French handle Nigerians or people at the airport and all the issues that they have. The way she expressed the difference in the Anglophone versus the Francophone experience in England or in France when she goes, it was just very, very enlightening for me to know that is not just a problem that happens here. It happens everywhere to all of us, no matter where we live.
At the end of this convention, they came up with some declarations, what they call patriotic commitment, that listed a few things, about 4 things. But the most important thing that, in my opinion, that they missed was the fact that there's already what is called a Swiss process, right? That is the only place where enemies can speak, where you know about La République as one party and Southern Cameroon as one party. They should have pushed that should be one of the declarations that should be highlighted. They didn't even discuss it. They didn't even mention about the Swiss-led process. That's one failure right there. Secondly, when you talk about justices, when you talk about peace and justice, now you're talking about justice from whom? You have to highlight that so many villages have been burnt, so many thousand people have been killed, so many people are IDPs and refugees. You want justice for them. So how do you get the justice for them? That is something that should be mentioned in that at the end of that conference. So now you will see that it was just one-sided. They're talking about peace within the context of their own one country and really forgetting about the victims. And I think that makes it a failed convention.
Why must every Ambazonian draft? This weekend, Ambazonia will be coming together to draft for the county of Kupe Mwaniguba. ABC News had the opportunity to talk with Resource Mobilization, directorate responsible for putting these drafts together. And here's the reason they say every Ambazonian must draft.
This is our second year of the draft. And before I start actually talking about the draft, let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you Ambazonians who drafted last year, who paid your draft, who actually went to your local government and you became very active. So because without you all, we would not do what we are doing at this point. You know, Paddy, what is the draft? What a good question. Our president, His Excellency, Dr. Ekome Sako, last year, as a matter of fact, came up with this idea, great idea, always thinking about how do we fund this revolution? As you know, no one is helping us. We have no oil fields. We have resources that are being tapped and used by French Cameroon to kill our own people. So our president thought, if we have our brothers and sisters, our Ambazonian restoration forces on ground zero, giving their lives, defending homeland. What is it that we in the diaspora can do? What is it that some of us can do to actually support these brave warriors of ours that are fighting so hard to defend themselves, defend our homeland, and defend our people do? So he came up with the Amber Award draft, which meant every one of us in the diaspora who is a true and bona fide Ambazonian, who believes in the total liberation of our independence. We are not on the ground to give our own life, because in the United States where I reside, when there was war, believe it or not, they would draft people into the military. But because we are not home to go defend our homeland, he came up with that draft, which means it's our own way of also showing the world and showing ground zero that we are also fighting, which meant if each and every one of us Ambazonians could give $1,000 every year to our local governments to help them to fund the revolution, to support our brothers and sisters, some of them children to some of us, to give them what it takes to defend homeland and to defend themselves on a war that was perpetrated on them by the evil French Cameroon, Bivondobia, and France alike. That's how the draft came up. So the draft, in one word, in one sentence to you, is our way, those of us in the diaspora, to support ground zero, to continue to defend homeland. And hopefully I've answered your question right. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. So you're saying that the draft, which is the award, that is the Amber War Draft, is a mechanism to raise funds for the current struggle. Now,
definitely.
Why? We're just coming from an insightful international press conference that was made possible by distinguished efforts. And I think Ambazonians and the nation and our people dying will forever be grateful for the hard work that you and your team are putting in place to see that the war is won and won really quick. So this is the last question I have for you this evening. I know you're tired and you have other preoccupations. The question I want to ask you right now, and straightforwardly, is why must Ambazonia draft? Thank you.
You know, Patty, yes, it was a great press conference. Our president did an excellent job, especially given the things that have been said by us, given alliances that have been, or treaties or whatever you call them, signed on behalf of all of us Ambazonians, and how we are misrepresented in the world. I think he did a great job. He did a really good job to let the people of Nigeria know and the rest of the world that we are no troublemakers. Our people are of no harm to anyone. All we want and we ask for is, please do not chase people who have no home to go. They are there because they have no other place to go. So let me get back to why must Ambazonians draft. Paddy, when Eritreans were fighting for their independence, you want to know the truth? They were tasked 10% of their income, of their earnings, went to fund the war. Freedom, this land where we live in, I live in the United States of America. I'm a proud citizen of this country. But guess what? America went through things in order to have their freedom. For those of my people who are sitting out there, standing on the sideline and saying that one thing, I just want them to know that the freedom you are enjoying today in this country, some people fought so hard for you to be able to be here and enjoy this freedom. Why must you draft? You know, I've been here for decades. Guess what? Anytime somebody sees me, where are you from? That's a great reminder that this is not your country. You might be a bona fide citizenship of the United States, but I tell you what, you don't belong here. Why must we draft? We have a home. We have a homeland that we came from. We have a land that was given to us by our great-great-great-grandparents. It's home that belongs to us. If we don't work hard and fight hard to support the brothers and the sisters and our brave mothers that are defending homeland, what are we doing here? What are we going to go back to one day? We've seen our mothers burnt in the house. We've seen the baby martyrs killed. So many gruesome stories, one story after the other. So the reason that each and every one of you Ambazonians, especially as we head to Kupe Manungaba on tomorrow, if you're hearing me and you can actually ask yourself a question, did we invite Bivondo Pobia and his troops to come and kill us? No, he declared war on us. He said we were 2 cubes of sugar and we were going to be dissolved. We have not gone into French Cameroon to fight. For those of you who say we are fighting, we are mainly defending ourselves. They are taking our land. They're taking everything we own. They want to disseminate us. They want us to not be on the face of this earth.
And now, on to foreign news. Is United States President Joe Biden committed to shutting down the famous yet controversial Guantanamo Bay prison in Cuba? One of the last 40 prisoners held at the detention center Al-Qatani, experts say stands as a litmus test for Joe Biden. Our reporter Nellie Fortune reports.
Nearly 2 decades ago, in the aftermath of the September 11 attacks, a man named Mohammed Al-Qatani was captured on the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. The Saudi national, U.S. authorities alleged was an Al-Qaeda operative who was supposed to have been the 20th hijacker, but he failed to board the United Airlines Flight 93, which crashed in Royal, Pennsylvania. After his capture, Al-Qatani was imprisoned, tortured by the U.S. government, and when charges against him were dropped in 2008, left to languish behind bars with no end in sight. 39 detainees left in a facility that once housed approximately 680 so-called enemy combatants, a Department of Defense spokesperson confirmed to CNN. His attorneys have waged a protracted legal battle for Al-Qatani's repatriation to Saudi Arabia. His quest for freedom is forcing the Biden administration to consider whether to release the 45-year-old man whose attorneys say is mentally ill, battling schizophrenia, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of his torture, or seek to hold him indefinitely without charging him with a crime. Al-Qatani's case, experts say, stands as a litmus test for whether President Joe Biden is committed to his pledge to shutter this controversial facility, an enduring symbol of the George W. Bush administration's global war on terror that persisted through the Barack Obama and Donald Trump presidencies. And they say the case has troubling implications for the humane treatment of other prisoners of war, including any U.S. service members who may be captured in future conflicts. The challenge facing the Biden's administration's legal team is how to balance the merits of Al-Qatani's case with the larger political reality at play, said Stephanie I. Vladek, a professor at the University of Texas School of Law who follows Guantanamo litigation. While there will be those who urge the president to side with a severely mentally ill detainee as part of the process of closing Guantanamo, said Vladek, others within the White House may advise Biden to consider the political drawbacks of any decision that may help set free a man who allegedly aspired to take part in the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil. As much as the administration may wish to show compassion towards Al-Qatani, any border effort to effectuate his release and that of the other 38 men still in detention would require political capital that the administration is either unable to or unwilling to spend, said Vladek, who is a CNN legal analyst. Looming in the background is a fierce debate over whether Guantanamo detainees are entitled to due process rights, a constitutional guarantee to fair treatment in court that is a bedrock of the American judicial system. Previous administrations have urged or argued that such rights do not apply to them. The Biden administration's legal team is divided on the issue, according to a recent New York Times report. The administration has yet to take a public stance on the matter. Recently, however, the Biden White House put its first stamp on Guantanamo policy on July 19, allowing the transfer of detainee Abdul Latif Nassar to Morocco. Because Nassar, who was never charged with a crime, had been cleared for repatriation in 2016, it's unclear whether or not the move represents a significant shift in policy. Meanwhile, as the battle over the future of Guantanamo Bay plays out in Washington, Al-Qahtani spends his days in isolation in his cell. He avoids other detainees because of his schizophrenic outbreaks, Kareem noted in an August 2020 court declaration. In a recent phone conversation with his lawyer, Qasim, Al-Qahtani said he survived on the hope of seeing his family again. The unclassified notes of that cell or call, according to Qasim, reveal the desperation his client feels. There is no life for me here, Al-Qahtani told his attorney. If I have a future, it is outside this place. Nelly Fortu on Prime reports with ABC Amber News.
Several thousand protesters took to the streets in Ghana's capital city of Accra on Wednesday morning, demanding that their government fix the country. Our correspondent Eunice Moma filed this report from Lagos, Nigeria.
Several thousand protesters marched in Ghana's capital, Accra, on Wednesday under the slogan #Fix the Country, the latest rally against President Nana Akufo-Addo's government. Dressed in red and black and chanting patriotic songs, protesters waved placards declaring, "Corruption breeds poverty," and "Fix our education system now," as they marched in the city center. Wednesday's rally marks the most recent anti-government protest since March, when a top court dismissed the main opposition party's challenge to Akufo-Addo's re-election late last year. Akufo-Addo won his second term with only a small majority in parliament. But the Ghanaian leader has since been under pressure as the West African country struggles with economic troubles worsened by the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Nana Akufo-Addo, we are suffering. Do something for us. Nothing is working, said 28-year-old protester Frederick Kumsen. The government must wake up. Ghana is often applauded as one of the stable democracies in a region troubled by political strife and religious violence. But last year's tightly contested vote heightened political tensions. With the economic hit hard by the pandemic, the government has introduced new taxes and high food prices have also hiked the cost of some basic goods and services. Led by social media activists, the Fix the Country protest on Twitter has been highlighting economic problems and government management. If the political authorities will not fix this country, we want to tell them that we are capable of destroying their career because we brought them to power, said Fatima Mensah, a 35-year-old activist. Some criticized Akufo-Addo's project to build a new $200 million national cathedral, a pledge he says he made after his 2016 election victory. Ghanaians have been asked to make a voluntary $16 monthly donation to help finish it by 2024. Why do we waste time on unnecessary ventures and leave the most important issues? Asked Abwagi Da Costa, a shoe shiner. It is strange to hear this from Ghana. What is President Kufuor and his administration doing wrong? For how long will this civil unrest go on? These are the questions we hope to find answers as we continue to examine the political atmosphere in Ghana. Eunice Momo on Prime Reports with ABC Amber News.
In business news today, Let's find out what's happening this first week of August with the markets around the world. Dr. Ngwambe has the analysis.
Chief executives of Nigerian-listed companies are among sub-Saharan Africa's highest earners, according to a news report by PwC. The median value of total guaranteed packages, which includes base pay and benefits for the heads of Nigerian companies, is $323,000, the accounting firm said Thursday in a remuneration report. That's the highest among 7 sub-Saharan African countries, excluding South Africa, and is based on data published by 382 companies, it said. Nigerian bourse boasts the biggest African building materials firm. The median value of total guaranteed packages, which includes base pay and benefits for the heads of Nigerian companies, is $323,000, the accounting firm said in Thursday's remuneration report. That's the highest among 7 sub-Saharan African countries, excluding South Africa, and is based on data published by 382 companies, it said. Nigerian chief executives are among the best paid in sub-Saharan Africa. Chief financial officers in Africa's biggest economy are also among the best paid in the region, with median earnings of $219,000, according to PwC. More than 40% of Nigerians, or 82.9 million people, are classified as poor based on their real per capita expenditure of less than 137,430 naira, which is about $334 a year, 2019 data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows. Nigeria is home to the continent's biggest building materials producer, Dangote Cement, owned by Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote. The country has the biggest companies by market value on the continent, outside South Africa, in the food and beverage, banking, and energy industries through Nestle Nigeria, Guarantee Trust Holding, and Seplat Energy. The market capitalization of Nigeria's stock exchange is $49 billion, compared with South Africa's $1.1 trillion bourse, which boasts the biggest listed company in Africa, Naspers Limited. Some of the world's biggest mining companies, like BHP Group, Anglo American, and Glencore, have secondary listings in South Africa and represent more than 20% of the total market capitalization of the benchmark FTSE JSE Africa All-Share Index. Separate analysis of companies listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange showed a median pay of 5.17 million rand, which is about $359,265 for chief executives across all industries, and 3.34 million rand for chief financial officers, according to the consultancy. PwC omitted percentage changes in annual compensation due to the unquantified impact of COVID-19, and its analysis excludes long-term incentives, leaving some South African executives looking poor. South Africa is one of the world's most unequal nations, a legacy of the apartheid system of racial discrimination that disadvantaged the black majority, which ended in 1994. The government is finalizing legislative changes aimed at narrowing the earnings gap between company executives and the lowest paid workers in a country where the official minimum wage is about 20 rand an hour. The time has come for leaders to step forward, take action, and actively address fair pay in their organizations, said Andreas Horak, PwC's reward practice co-lead. It is critical for leaders to be seen as committed to creating working environments in which all employees are valued and rewarded and have equal opportunities to grow, develop, and flourish, he said. This has been Dr. Ngwambe on Prime Reports with ABC Amba News.
In sports, Namibia, Nigeria, and Ghana take home medals at the ongoing Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan. Robert Bate brings us the report.
Namibia's Christine Boma has claimed a historic silver medal in the 200 meters as Nigeria wins medals in wrestling and athletics. Mboma becomes the first Namibian woman ever to win an Olympic medal, just few weeks after being informed she could not compete in her preferred 400 meters due to high levels of testosterone. Blessing Oborududu wins silver in the women's freestyle wrestling as her compatriot Eze Brome claims bronze in the women's long jump as they clinch Nigerians' first medals in Tokyo. Ghanaian boxer Samuel Taki had to settle for a bronze medal after he lost his featherweight semi-final as he won his nation's first Olympic medals since 1992, when the men's football team also claimed a bronze. The 18-year-old Christine Boma also breaks the world under-20 record for the third time in Tokyo as she took the finish line in 21 minutes 81 seconds in the final. Boma finished behind Jamaica's Ellen Thompson Herah, who retained her title, completed the double sprint in Tokyo, and ran the second fastest time in history. She also becomes the only second Namibian athlete ever to win an Olympic medal after Frankie Fredericks, who won 4 silver medals during his career. Her compatriot Beatrice Masilingi, who is just 18 years as well, set another new personal best as she finished 6th behind Ivory Coast Marie-Josée Talou in the 5th position. This is my Olympics. I came here for experience, but I did better than I expected. I'm really happy with my performance. I am proud of myself, Mboma said after her victory. In the past, she continued, every time I ran against the best athletes, I felt nervous. But I don't feel nervous now. I never give up. I just focused on the 200 meters. I wanted to keep my head down and focused on that. Now I have got a medal. I am happy. End of quotes. Both Namibian athletes dropped down from their preferred 400 meters events after they were informed in July by the World Athletics that their testosterone levels were beyond the allowed limit for female athletes to compete over that distance unless they medically lower their testosterone for a period of at least 6 months. Uganda's world record holder Joshua Cheptegei eased into the final of the men's 5,000 meters as he aims for a second medal in Tokyo, having won silver in the men's 10,000 meters last Friday. His compatriot Jacob Kiplimo, the bronze medalist from the 10,000 meters, finished just ahead of Cheptegei as both progressed by finishing in the top 5 of the second heat. Ethiopia's Milkesa Mengasha was 6th in the same heat to clinch a place in the final as the fastest loser, but Lesiba Mashele of South Africa was not quick enough to advance, while Kenya's Samuel Masai did not start. The first heat was won by Kenya's Nicholas Kipriro Kimeli as he qualified automatically for the final, with Uganda's Oscar Chelimo also progressing in the 4th. Gednet Wale of Ethiopia, who finished 4th in Monday's men's 3,000 steeplechase final, missed out on another final as he finished 9th. Another Kenyan, Daniel Simeo Ebenyo, fell during the race but recovered to catch up with the leaders before fading away towards the end to finish 10th in his heat. Morocco's Sofiane Boukantar, Ethiopia's Nibret Melak Bogali, and Abidine of Mauritania all missed out on the final as well. Liberia's American-born Joe Fanbule set a new national record as he qualified automatically for Wednesday's men's 200 meters final. Nigeria's Divine Oboduro managed third in the first semi-final, just ahead of Ghana's Joseph Amua, but neither man recorded times quick enough to progress as fastest losers. Robert Bate on Prime Reports with ABC Amber News.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. That's all the news we have for you today. For all of us here at ABC Amber News, have a great weekend and we'll see you back here on Monday. My name is Cynthia Williams signing off. Bye-bye. Hello, you are watching ABC Amber TV News. My name is Cynthia Williams, and here are some of the stories we are covering today. The president of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, holds a spirited press conference with the local and international media in Nigeria. The president discussed the security concerns of Nigeria over the growing Ambazonia refugee population in that country and the alleged Ambazonia-Namdi alliance. A 58-year-old woman who was brutally beaten by French Cameroon soldiers in Ndu local government area has died from her injuries. In foreign news, thousands of protesters in Ghana took to the streets in the capital city of Accra on Wednesday demanding that the country should be fixed. In sports, Namibia, Nigeria, and Ghana win medals at the ongoing Tokyo, Japan Olympic Games. These stories and many more in this edition of ABC Amber News. Don't touch that dial. Please stay tuned.
Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems.